Oh,
Too late. It's about to go on
too
the
late.
internet.
Who wants to be the
Rock,
mushmouth
paper,
today?
scissors, shoot. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to MVP Office Hours, December 1st. We're so glad you're here. Before I fall off my chair in a fit of giggles, thanks for sharing that, because I have it up, but I'm not sharing it, Squire. You're amazing. Today's December 1st, MVP Office Hours. Here we are. We usually meet on the first and third Fridays. You can find all three of us, Dale, myself, and Squire, on LinkedIn. Dale, will you say hi?
Hi.
Squire, will you say hi?
Hey there.
All right. You can find some of us or some of our postings on Twitter, but the success community is probably our favorite place to hang out. So we can go to the next slide. We ask that everybody shares their experience with us, because we're all MVPs here. We're all really smart at what we do, but we all also have questions. If you have questions, post in the chat or raise your hand. Use the reaction buttons while we're on the call, and be generous, sharing your links and resources and answers in the chat. We do recommend sharing your screen, but this is our safe harbor space. This is it. Do not share any private data or information, because we are recording the session and we are posting the recording on YouTube. And as you know, Dale reminds us all the time, the internet is forever, and we want you to have a fun and informal time here, but we do ask that we keep it all professional and positive. And part of keeping it professional is not sharing private data or information. The registration link is bit.ly/MVPOH, and the recordings can be found on the community and Twitter and YouTube for now. And our favorite hashtags, if you want to post and share about your great experience: Problem Solve Together, Community Learner, and MVPOH, please.
And part of that professionalism is also not bashing your company, not bashing certain departments within your company, not bashing Salesforce, not like calling people out. So
no, we're all collaborators here. We're not competitors, and we're not grumpy about too much stuff. We just, we have opinions. That's okay.
Not your hosts. Don't bash your hosts.
Yeah, come on. I'm really nice all the time. Community events. Oh, I'm so excited about community events. Well, I'm not going to Dream In Kosovo. Philippines Dream In Manila in January, Cactus Force in Scottsdale in January, Snow Force in Salt Lake City in February. And then we've got this giant gap because of Trailblazer DX in March. But then Texas Dream In May. I'm so excited about next week, you guys. World Tour's coming to Chicago. I'll be there. And then World Tour's going to stop in New York the week after. And then we have a big break until Trailblazer DX in March. And so I think today is the last day for Trailblazer DX speaking things. What are those called?
Submissions.
That. And so if you have an idea, pull it together, because you need 200 words for the abstract and 1,000 words or 1,000 letters, characters, 200 characters for the abstract and 1,000 characters to tell why it's a good talk. Submit. Because we want to hear from you.
no emoji.
What?
No emoji.
Yeah, don't send emojis. All right. Oh, we have 2 things in the hopper already. I'm really excited about it. Jennifer, is Jennifer on? Jennifer. Did anyone see?
Well, actually, I didn't see Jennifer, but I put this on here just kind of as I wanted to get on my soapbox for a second, if that's okay. So,
are you cutting in line, Squire?
No, but I'm adding a topic, and I have to add Clayton before me. So, Jennifer got her question answered pretty quickly by a lot of people. It was great. It was awesome to see everyone do their thing. I was reminded personally, and then when I saw this post, I was like, yeah, we should all talk about this. It's really critical, I think, and I'm going to bring it up, to remember how a simple word can be like read. And so I when I'm looking at this, I'm seeing the words easy, easily, simple. It can be a little condescending to a brand new admin how easy and simple these answers are if they didn't know the answer. I was reminded myself that just recently, like, please make sure you explain why you're giving your answer. Don't just give an answer, because it really just diminishes the opportunity. So I just wanted to take this as a chance to just remind all of us, like when you're out here, there's no tone, there's no body language. What reads as simple or easy might not be read that way. Just we're all in this for the right reasons. So that's the only reason I put this out here. Because some of the best people in the community are posting. They mean well, but anyway, that's all I wanted to add.
And good rule of life is meet people where they are, not where you are. So just because it's easy for you doesn't mean it's easy for them.
It was all foreign to us when we stepped into this space the first time, and super excited about that, Square. I agree with you 100%.
Love it.
So Jennifer, not on, so we're not going to talk about this too much. But she's looking for a field that's edible if an account is a prospect but locked down for customer.
Yeah, it looked like the summary of it was that she was looking for a way to implement a validation rule based on criteria within the page. A lot of good responses that I think achieved the goals. I think she even gave something a best answer. So I think we're in a good spot there.
All right, excellent.
well-
So we're going to pop right past that. Jennifer, if she pops on, we will circle back and see what she did.
Yep.
Sarah. Is Sarah here?
Yep.
Yay.
Yes, just hopped on just in time.
Yeah, just in time. Really. Talk to us about your reactive formulas and conditional visibility.
Well, as so often is the way, it seems like just posting about it fixed the problem, and it's now working.
I love it. I love it.
So, basically what was happening was I was trying to use a field that is a currency input to show or not show some other components on the screen, and it like wasn't working and it wasn't working. And part of it was like I was using a formula to set the value for what it was supposed to be greater than, and that wasn't working. And I was like pulling my hair out because it all should work. And then I posted the screenshots of how it was set up, and then I went and debugged it again and it worked. So I'm just gonna like call that Salesforce being Salesforce and say it's all good for now.
Internet gremlins.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thanks, Adam.
that's amazing. All right, so we've got that taken care of.
Check. I'm like, December's off to a great start,
Oh, I mean, what more can we ask for? Clayton, what do you have going on, Clayton? We are just going
Okay.
through these, like, come on, let's go.
All right, so I'll share my screen if I need to, but I'll start conceptually. And Christy I might want to talk to her offline because she has a lot of knowledge in my industry. Basically what we're doing is we're taking, let's say an opportunity comes in, the pricing department's reviewing it. And then basically what we're doing is once it's done, we move it to another stage from submitted to completed. And within that area, we want to go ahead and add a flag that says we want to put a approval process in there. And there's a condition that would say, if this field is subject to approval, we want to review it. And we've been talking about, okay, do we use a stage? And then if we use a stage, how do we capture any notes or back and forth between the analyst and the pricing manager so that we kind of know when it went into the pricing manager, when it came back to the analyst. And I know Salesforce has the whole approval process, but I'm just not sure if that's the right answer, a stage is the right answer, or maybe even something like a case to keep track of the back and forth. So I'll stop there for a second.
Amber, go for it.
Whenever I hear back and forth, especially internally, I think chatter. Chatter on that record, because then you have at a minimum time date stamps, a kind of a public record of what was public, the right amount of public record of what was talked about. And folks get notifications in the world they're in. If there needs to be an SLA, you could consider a case. Cases, that feels kind of heavy-handed for cases, or cases feel heavy-handed for what you're talking about. But it feels like chatter would be kind of the way to go. You could do some automation, you could do some cool automation where, you know, when something enters a stage, you post a chatter post that mentions all the, you know, the op owner and the group that is the pricing team, so that everybody, you know, hey, put your comments here, you know, especially as a change management kind of holdover from whatever chaos you're used to now. Because I would imagine it's email, it's Slack messages, it's walking by the desk, it's post-its, it's faxes. Yeah. I feel you. But yeah, chatter, that's a great use case for chatter.
All of what Amber said,
Wait, do you-
and
What was that?
was what?
I don't know. I thought someone else popped in. Go ahead, Dale. Keep on.
I was just gonna say all of what Amber said, and
I did.
probably not an approval process just because of the record locking mechanisms and the overhead associated with who can and can't and should not still be able to modify and do things to the record, because approval is also kind of heavy-handed on the opportunity itself, that if you're not intending to completely lock down and you're just trying to capture a conversation, are you putting the process in the wrong place? So
But you don't have to lock the record during the approval process. You
you
can.
don't? Okay.
You can, but you don't have to. And also I would be curious about a pricing review. You're talking about the opportunity going through a different stage, because you can have it sit into a pricing review and then have that like side conversation on the pricing also.
Like I kind of solved for this ish way back in 2015 when screen flows were the only option. Screen flows and a button.
Mhm.
URL hacks, anybody? You know? If above or below a certain margin, it had to like get parked over to the side and you had to do everything, whatever. But that feels very, very old school and it wouldn't be the solve anymore. I just don't know what that new out of the box tool would be to get you that.
You know what would be really cool is if an ISV if they made a custom flow thingy that you can drag from the thingy into the thingy. You know, from the left into the middle, that would let you lock a record in a flow. Right? That's $1 million idea. You're welcome.
Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Yes, absolutely.
You mean like Apex Locket?
Yeah.
They have it. I think it's on the App Exchange. Like it's a flow action that like does the lock and unlock. Someone already built that. It's free.
Andrew, will you dig up the link to that? That sounds amazing.
Yeah, what's it called?
I
I don't know. Andrew's amazing with Google and links, and so we're gonna send him down that rabbit hole because he knows about it. He knows what he's looking for.
Clayton, is it enough that you're needing it locked for an approval process so that this pricing request basically opportunity is being approved?
I'm not sure I quite follow that, but basically before I've got and I know Dell loves them, a validation rule that says that the pricing analyst cannot move it to completed by pricing without the pricing manager reviewing it. And maybe I should if I could share my screen, that might help a little bit. I don't know
It'd
if
be okay to do that, Clayton.
Okay. So I've got submitted to pricing, completed by pricing, and then presented to customer. But it's this between submitted and presented that I've went down and I basically have a flag that says, okay, yes, it needs to be flagged for whatever reason for a review. And then a status where I say, right now, I have the analyst has to show that it's waiting on the review. And then once the pricing manager completes it, he actually does review completed and fills in the date it was completed. And then just a little bit more. Basically, if it just flows through, I systematically update the date completed when it moves from submitted to completed, but the whole for X number of accounts, we need to go ahead and put it in either approval queue or some kind of a queue or stage so that the pricing manager can review it, but we also need to let them know, okay, now it's been reviewed. But in the meantime, there may be back and forth.
Yeah, I feel like we're really close. I saw at Dreamforce, I saw a session with Michelle Hansen and Eric Smith. I hope I'm getting those names right. Where they showed reactive forms and reactive flows that did something similar to what you're saying, where and Michelle Hansen had a reactive form that she built out for Midwest Dreamin', talking about how they deal with sponsors, and sponsors have to meet a certain requirement to get to a certain level, and those have to be approved by the committee or whatever. And so the form doesn't show them all that list of things. It only shows them the next step. So if it has to be approved by somebody, then all they see is that waiting for approval item. And in the form, in the reactive form, the next person to see it is going to be that approval manager. So kind of the form itself reacts to whatever the status of the data of that record is in. I feel like we are really close to this being what it needs to be. Are we there today? I don't know. We'd have to play with those reactive forms and reactive flows to know. It'd be worth a try.
Okay.
So it sounded like, Clayton, obviously people need to know, and there's back and forth, and that's what you're saying. Hey, it's kind of pending. Possibly those drop down fields, a list view for the person to know, maybe a notification. Hey, you have another one that needs to be reviewed because it's got that drop down sub status. You can't use a queue on opportunities because I tried that last year. Oops, doesn't work. But I get what you're trying to achieve with the pricing part. So
yeah, and I do have a report where I'm pretty much, already telling them, and there may not be anything in here right now, where I'm already telling them, okay, these are waiting on review. So I've done that, and I'm, they've come back to me and said, well, that's great, but they're kind of stuck on wanting a stage, and then that back and forth, we always lose that back and forth, whether it be Slack or emails. And the first solution was Chatter. We wouldn't want it to be public. It would just between the analyst and the manager. So I think I should be quiet and listen as to what you might suggest.
So for the analyst and manager, hypothetically, you could, and I know this, feel free, Dale, and everyone to shoot me down. But I had a client where they only wanted certain people to see it. We put in a long text field where they could fill in and add to it, and only 3 people could see that field because it was the pricing team on that company. So.
Yeah, and actually this field, like pricing comments, is already I either use a permission set or I've got it locked down, I think, based on
a profile.
users.
Okay.
If you're part of an opportunity team or a account team, can you not have chatter that's only private to your team?
Not on a record.
Yeah, the problem is and anybody who can see the record can see the chatter.
Hmm.
You could, in theory, and this would be kind of gross, but you could, anytime you need to have one of these side conversations, you could spin up a private chatter group, have the conversation there. I don't love that because that's
No.
gonna have proliferation of chatter groups.
Yeah, I don't like that
Um,
either.
That'd get gross real quick.
Yeah. I mean, it begs the question, why are you having to have the private conversation?
What are you hiding?
It's
Right,
it's top secret. They don't want to tell the salespeople. And that's another issue I'm kind of facing too is, the owner of the opportunity is the salesperson.
Mhm.
And, in early design, I kind of made the mistake of not putting quote a pricing owner and using their user ID. I mean, there's some other things with communication back and forth that eventually I think that's what I need to do.
And why would a validation rule be so bad on that? I mean, if you had like a timestamp of like it's locked down, is changed on, something or other, except for the certain person that can fill in. And if so like the opportunity's changed, you have, unless this pricing or this timestamp is filled, and that timestamp can only be filled by one person. So once it's filled, you can continue on, but it kind of locks it. I have similar things around close dates that I had to create.
Yeah, us too. We
I
use
guess,
custom permissions that basically just say you can or can't set this flag, and if it is or isn't filled, you can't make other changes, and it just kind of it's like a approval light. I'm with you, Heather. We do something similar.
I would say, I mean, Clayton's right. I hate validation rules. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. It's, are you trying to so what is the goal? Is it, if certain criteria is met, we need to have a side process and move forward this way, like a railroad siding? You just got to be able to park the train over on the side and then get it back on the main track? Or is it that you are actually trying to prevent things from happening at certain stages? If it's the first, I think you're going down anything that Lightning has enabled, like throwing screen flows or any kind of process on there. If it's, no, we have to stop until we get, then I think your solution is more in the validation realm, validation rule realm. So it's, what is the goal of this particular scenario? And you'll get your solution from there, or at least most of it. And then the dialogue, I'm gonna say with Amber, chatter all day, every day, just because of everything that chatter offers. But process versus validation rule is, what's the goal of this particular scenario? Is it,
But if the dialogue is private, isn't that another consideration and another challenge to solve?
It shouldn't be, well, what's the frequency of these private conversations happening? Is it the 80 or is it the 20? Is it the 90 or is it the 10? So how should that fit into the solution? If it's the 10% or 5% of the time, no, don't overbake the solution to account for it, because no. But if it's happening like a lot more than 20, 30, 40% of the time, then I think you have more. I mean, I'm going to say, okay, why? And put a pause on development here and ask, why are our sales reps having to have all these private conversations? Yeah. Something doesn't work in the process that we need to solve for, but that's just me.
So Dale, if it's the manager, FYI, logistics wise, pricing just doesn't like to be questioned on why they price something some way, and they don't want to hear back from their salespeople.
And that's a them problem. But the thing is that shouldn't be a solution problem. That's a them problem. But
why? Yeah, I mean, we're using Salesforce for a reason. I think you keep You keep this stuff in Salesforce because of business reasons. I don't know. I don't like I don't like having private conversations be the 90% of the rule either.
Yeah.
You have a big problem if that's what's happening. You have a problem.
It forces for competition where competition should not be living.
Right.
I like what you were saying, Dale, and I'm going to add a little +1 to it. Like, I don't like to build for an exception, but I like defining the exception and understanding if it's supposed to be a rule and then turning it into a solution or a process, right? Like, I think what you're all saying is, why are you having privates? They shouldn't be private. They should be public that drive an outcome. And so here's how we're going to solve that whole problem, right? Like it turns into something else entirely.
Right. I mean, it's the if statement. It's the best practice of an if statement. If your exception, then true, and you get those handful of cases, else let everything else happen.
Yeah, and you know what it does now is it says, okay, if you want to move it to completed by pricing, let it go unless this field is flagged for review. And if it's flagged for review, the pricing analyst has to put in a date that says it's submitted and update the status. And then once the pricing manager reviews it, they change the status, change the date, pricing date completed, and lets it go. But if it is, you know, subject to review and the pricing analyst tries to move it on, it throws them an error code from the validation rule.
It sounds like validation rules are your solution, and then you can hide and show fields based on profile with playing out, yeah, with the profile permissions.
The
Because
permission.
hi everyone.
Hi,
It's been a year and a half, I think.
it's okay. We're glad you're.
So I'm hopefully back, but yeah, because we have similar things moving between stages, and we actually have approvals, and it's a beast. It's a lot of flow, it's a lot of validation, and it's a lot of extra custom objects to use as a table. That will take months to build. Now I don't know how many people you have, but we have about 20, and we have about 500 lines of logic that we cover in the flow, and it's not fun at all. So I will suggest that you will do it the easiest tools that you have right now, which are validation rules and probably hiding some fields if you have to.
The other perk of doing that is also you start to get some data to find out if it's truly an exception or if it's happening more often than it should be happening. And then if that's the case, is it a particular pricing person? And you can kind of get some training direction on that if it's the case. So sometimes, yes, it's the validation rules, the extra fields, but it starts to give you some data. And some people might just not be talking about it, but it's still happening. So we've had that.
Bruno effect. Yeah.
Clayton, you've got the path up on the top of this. Didn't I see you have display a path? Do you use the guidance to help clarify some of that at all?
Yeah, our pricing, yes. I mean, these are very, very well understood as to what does what. We recently implemented the process of the review, and you know, we've had some people struggling with it.
Okay.
And the question is, can we put a stage in here to give them additional visibility? Or, you know, I'm kind of repeating myself, or was the approval process within Salesforce the best way to go? Either way, you still have to say, it's flagged for review. It's ready for review. I mean, that could be moving it to the stage, but then somehow the pricing manager has to let them know it's been reviewed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I guess what I meant by the guidance is, having that pop-up screen that displays those critical fields underneath your chevrons with the definition, so that there's, like, as you open the page, you're going to see this is the stage, this is the timing, this is why it's probably stuck. Don't forget your pricing manager has to review. Like, you could add that to your path and maybe help with some of that visibility like you were describing. Maybe.
And that's kind of a new one for me. You mean like, if you were to look that, or when you first come in?
So,
guidance?
so in your path build out, you've got those two windows where you can bring specific fields up and display them, and then have documentation, definitions, instructions show up underneath your chevrons.
Yep.
Thank you, Christy. Key fields. It also, if there's another great example of that too, is like if you're having trouble with people buying into it, if it's because, like, the person that's your problem doesn't want to scroll down to the bottom of the page, those fields are at the top and editable. They can go to that right away. You don't even have to build a dynamic form. They're just like, oh, it's in submitted to pricing. The pricing manager sees the 3 fields they care about. It's got some words that explain why they care, and it moves on. So just a thought.
Okay.
Again, going back to Ernesto's comment, like, use the tools you got to see if you can get there before you have to reinvent the wheel.
Okay.
All right. Anything else there, Clayton? Are you going to come back with your solution in 2 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still struggling with it. I kind of need to digest what the team said here. I mean, to me, it seems like we've already got the comments filled. The pricing managers are pushing for the extra stage, but I still think fundamentally the system's doing what it needs to do, but getting people to comply with this seems harder than just having a stage up here that would drive it. But then
Yeah. Adding
Oh.
a stage just so that people see it slightly different makes me uncomfortable. I mean, I've even seen people do dynamic HTML text boxes that just pop up at the top of the screen in red text that just says, by the way, you're in this stage, you're waiting for the so-and-so to do something. Like, sometimes that's better than adding a stage and a level of complexity to your object.
Yep. I agree with that. I love the
Yes.
dynamic text based on what's going on in that pricing section. Something to think about, especially if you're literally just trying to get everyone to calm down a bit because they didn't follow the training documents.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, I guess that's my other question is, has everyone aligned on the process? Has there been one key process owner who has communicated and trained to sales, to the managers, to pricing, that this is the process, and everybody has agreed, so that you can build a system and a process that enforces everything?
Yeah, I've documented it and rolled it out twice, and now I'm into the individual, let's jump on a Teams call and let's go through it stage. But it's that back and forth where they kind of want the documentation or timestamps. And then I won't go into it, but they're all critical on putting the date completed on it. Is the latest twist to it. How to define that. So anyway, fun stuff.
You have a grimace on your face. I don't think you're really sold that it's going to be fun stuff.
Oh, I'm just trying to figure out the best solution, and I figured if I could ask you, this team, I'd at least get some ideas. And so that was kind of my purpose. I don't mean to dominate the conversation or monopolize all your time, but I do appreciate your input.
Of course.
Clayton, we're happy to help. I'm glad we're part of your team.
I am a solo person.
Hey, hey, that's how it goes, right? That's how it goes. Do we have any other questions like popped up in the chat? I didn't see anything, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Did Stuart have something?
Stuart always has something.
Yeah, he had a couple posts. I wasn't sure if that was something you wanted to circle back on or if you were just lamenting.
Stuart, you're muted. There you are.
For good reason. For good reason, I'm muted. I thought well, no, I shouldn't speak at all because I came into a call with a trailhead disaster, and I thought, oh, this would be good. This would be a good thing for me to point out a common thing, and then when you spoke at the beginning of don't treat people awful when they ask basic questions. This is a good sign. Because I had what I was gonna say was a basic question, which is I didn't put in the right underlines or something, or I had a variable that was wrong or whatever, and I was gonna kind of show that. But then as I went through it, I'm like, no, this is completely messed up. And it is completely messed up. It's referring to a rule. I'm dealing with the industry business rules engine that's part of the industry flow package, and the error message it's giving me is for a business rule that is not part of the trailhead that I'm working on at all.
Cool.
So
Are you in a dev org or a playground?
did a dev org. I'm in a dev org that has other training stuff in it. That brand new dev org. I just got it.
I have learned the hard way. Anything trailhead, just spin up a playground.
I can't because the whatever it is, the challenge requires me to use their training data.
Yeah.
Like I have to use their dev org to complete the trail mix.
And it doesn't come with an app exchange package, because I thought all the playgrounds, like on the homepage, had an app that you plug in the app exchange ID to get you all the extra stuff, whatever you need.
No, not for the industry stuff. For all the industry like Omni Studio and business rules and stuff. This is all new stuff.
Gotcha.
It's because it needs licensing. It's not just a package to give you extra stuff. It's an org that has to have licensing in the tenant. So that's a separate trial force template that powers them.
Yeah, and even that's hit or miss, right? Sometimes you have to do an install. Sometimes it's just work. Sometimes you have to do a CSV load. It's hit or miss.
But anyway, I'll figure it out. But I was gonna show and say, so when you run into a thing like this, you look for this and you do this, and then I realized, no, screw it. This isn't going to help anybody. But the one point that you did make earlier about, don't, treat everyone with kid gloves, even if they're asking a question that maybe you've heard 100 times. Because I was in an architect and engineers meeting earlier this morning, and they were talking about GitHub. Moving from Bitbucket to GitHub, and moving from Bamboo to GitHub Actions, and moving from something to Sneak, and all this stuff. And I was like, I have a question. I'm an architect. My title says architect, but now I just realized how stupid I am. Can you explain this to me? Like I'm a kindergartner. What are you doing here? Like, what is it that you are actually getting at? I understand this is all DevOps and you're trying to move, you're building packages and you're moving packages to the development cycle so you can put it into prod. I get that. But you move from like that 30,000 foot level down into the depths, and you've lost me. And And the whole room of architects was like just staring at me as if I came from Mars. Like, why don't you know this? And then I realized, oh, this is how I treat other people when they ask me some basic questions about like how does like web to lead work or something like that. I don't know. And I was just like, okay, maybe we need to take a step back here and just kind of talk about what is the business goal here of this meeting. Anyway.
So I'm gonna like I hear you. I know I've been recorded on many calls in the past of saying the blue Kool-Aid has definitely made things weird in this space, that at its core, Salesforce is still a database and there's still guiding principles and best practices, blah, blah, blah. But on the other end of it, I at least have a whoa, heard my own echo. That was not supposed to be that profound. I have grown in appreciation for someone who did not go to college for computer science. And I've been a nerd my whole life, but I haven't been doing all of this my whole life. That Salesforce did flip the paradigm for all of us to still be called architects. And if I had to guess, the virtual room, actual room of architects that you were with, Stuart, are probably those old school architects that could maybe even still like spout out COBOL in their sleep.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they're writing HP 3000 mainframe code, you know.
Exactly. You are an architect. You're a new architect. You're in the new world of architect. You're in the growth mindset of architect. You just unfortunately ran into a bunch of fixed mindset, old dodgy, please take your retirement now architect.
Old money and new money.
Right, exactly. So along with that, like everybody's experiences are unique. Everybody's journeys are unique. Some of them are common, some of them are truly unique, whatever. Like, dude, you're an architect. You're an architectural hero. Like you are in the new school. So own it.
But I still have to understand
It's
what the
also
hell.
cool, Stuart, that you were like, oh, I do that. And then you realize, and now you're self-aware, and then you kinder.
Yeah, but I have to understand what they're talking about too. And I need to be able to ask them critical questions about, are you sure you need to do it that way?
Absolutely. But at the same time, like, I'll go back to fixed mindset, growth mindset. You're not going to convince them that you're in the new school. And so some of these things are new to the new school of architects. It would be great if they did have some sympathy or empathy to give you some grace. I'm sorry that they didn't, but my hope for you is that you can reflect on that and not feel the unnecessary shame that they put on you for it, because there's no reason to be shamed for it. And it's an opportunity to learn something new. If you are supposed to know those things to be an architect, okay. Nobody in this call doubts that you'll go research it and learn it and study it and get a certification on it tomorrow, because that's how you roll. I wouldn't. Yeah, that's my take. I'll get angry and lathered up and go take them on if you need me to.
Yeah, Stuart, you just let us know who we need to take out.
Yep.
That's usually my line
Amber,
too. Who do I have to hit around
What she
here?
means by that is who we need to take out with a giant bear hug. So
Yes. Thank you for making this call no longer incriminating. Thank you, Jill.
Amber, come on.
Because here's the thing. My in-laws are in town this weekend, so I don't have time to take this recording into iMovie again. So thank you for making it non-incriminating.
We don't have any other questions today. Oh, everyone had a short week last week. Oh, Squire's got a question. Squire, what is it, Squire?
So I have two things. I think they're more announcements than anything, I think, rather than questions. Maybe they're questions. So the first one is shout to Andrew for trying to help with my DevOps issue. So side note, I was having an issue for several weeks where we use Salesforce DevOps and specific layouts were not deploying. They were committing to GitHub. They were not deploying to our sandboxes or to production. And it was driving us bonkers because it was hit or miss, didn't matter what org. We figured it out, we think. We're testing right now. Many of you may or may not know this, but layout APIs are their labels effectively. They're not really, but kind of when you deploy them, and a special character gets ASCII broke or whatever you call it with the percentages around special characters into GitHub, and it doesn't know how to deploy that back down. So if you've got special characters in your page layouts, they might not deploy. You probably experienced that with maybe with profiles in the past, Boo profiles, but just wanted to throw it out there, Andrew, that was the problem. Thanks for trying to help. Then the follow-up to that is, has anybody experienced in the last month, specifically since the last release, but maybe since Hyperforce we're testing, where new sandboxes, you can't verify or get your password reset, the link is automatically timed out? Is anybody dealing with that right now?
What
Kristen,
email
All the
provider do you
time.
have?
Reset it.
sorry, like a million words and some breakups. Who start?
So Andrew was asking about the email address, like with the dot invalid, right?
No,
It's
what
not
provider
that, like
do you
it's
use?
delivered, but the link in the email is automatically expired if you try to verify it or try to get an email reset.
Who hosts your email? G Suite or 365?
365.
Okay, that's your problem,
But it
I run
hasn't
into
been a
that all the
problem until a
time.
month ago.
right?
There's a
When
setting.
you open it, you need to right click on it and then open it. Do not click the link to use it. Or you can go I'm not going to recommend it, but there's a setting that your 365 admin can turn off, which is advanced threat protection.
Okay.
And what's happening is when you click the link, it's in the background, in like the page, it's making sure it's not a spam link, which also will happen with Trailhead, Super Badge, orgs, and stuff like that. It'll auto expire the one-time link.
So it is an exchange setting. It's not a Salesforce setting. It's not the never expire links setting that's in Salesforce. It's an exchange setting.
Well, the link, the auto, maybe in Salesforce, you can make the link not auto expire, but like on one-time click, but there's a 365 like link threat protection.
Okay.
And that's like, people have it all the time where they try and do Super Badge orgs and it doesn't work, and it has to do with that setting.
Okay.
If you copy and paste it into a different browser, it would work. But if you do the direct, it does for me.
Okay.
Well, because
Yeah,
I think what Andrew's saying is like embedded. What ends up happening is what's embedded in the link when you just click on it is like the URL defense or whatever, and there's a process that's destroying the activity of that link.
That's what we thought it was, but even when we cut and paste it, we couldn't get it to work. And so we're pushing back on our infrastructure to say it's something on your side that's breaking that. So I'll start there.
Try and go grab like a Trailhead playground, and if you try, like it happens to people all the time. Like if you just do like not playground, but like a Super Badge org, when they get the verify now button, if they click it and it's 365, it will expire. See if it does the same thing for you with your email, because whenever people ask them, I just tell you, go use a Gmail address. That's the simplest solution.
So it's exactly that, because I can like you said, like my Yahoo works just fine, but my work email fails. But it fails for whether it's Trailhead or a sandbox, or like we're using the that new feature where you create a sandbox and you can use a public group to say, don't break these people's emails so our admins don't have a dotted balance. None of those were working for our infrastructure. So that's where I'll start. Thank you.
Yeah, I put 2 links to it. It's definitely a security setting, but honestly, I don't know that I would say turn off security for your email for the entire company. So that's why Salesforce doesn't have a recommendation.
Yeah,
I
we
would
definitely don't want to do that.
I would also be curious to see what happens if you take the link, like just run a test. And so like if you right click, copy link address versus highlight and copy whatever, and dump those into like Notepad, something that is literally text only. It's going to destroy any URLs. It's just going to be text, and see what gets rendered.
Yeah.
It's not actually it doesn't add something to the URL. It's literally in the user interface. What it does, it hijacks. If you right click the link, it's like so if you use a non-Outlook and non-like Office 365 web client, it will sometimes work because it's the link protection gets embedded it's at like the UI level. So it hijacks the UI and it puts it into like the save. If you're in Outlook and you click a link, look for like the 3 dots across the top, like a little loady thing, and it'll be delayed by a couple seconds before it opens in Chrome. But I put the help article in chat. That is the exact help article that is what is happening. It references the Office Outlook mess.
That's the link we've been using, but the cut and paste isn't working. So we felt like there was something else infrastructurally, and it's probably what you're referencing. So I'll push back on my security team to evaluate that.
Oh, Amber, you have got 5 minutes.
Okay, I have 2 things.
You have 2.5 minutes each. Go.
One is I'm going to put a link in the chat. The Southeast Dreaming call for presentations is open now until February 2nd. Please
Exciting.
all your things.
Southeast Dreaming. When is Southeast Dreaming?
January. No, it's not in January. Lord help me. June, I think 27th and 28th on the website. I don't remember. I've got it blocked
June.
off.
Okay, June. Great.
End of June. Yep. And then the other thing is, who else going to New York World Tour? Because I'm going to be there, and you should come see me because I'm going to talk.
Oh
Awesome.
man.
I wasn't going to, but now I'm going to. So I'll see you there.
Yeah,
I'm gonna try.
that's exciting.
I can't go next week. Stu and I have something important going on, but New York wasn't on the agenda, but now I can force my hand.
Super fun. I have never been to New York City. I've been to San Francisco like 87 billion times, and Chicago 120 billion times, and DC and Miami and Atlanta and all the places, and I've never been to New York City.
All right.
So
All
I
right.
know. So
That's
excited. Much fun.
I don't think I'm going to find myself there 10 days from now, but if I do, I'll let you know.
You know where to find me. I love it.
All
Awesome.
right. Anything else? You had 2 things. It was just
Those are my 2
4
things.
speakers and you're going to New York. Great. Anything else? Anyone?
Andrew,
Anyone?
did you throw your hand up or no? No? Okay, cool.
You know, can I mention a comment?
Please.
I just saw a post on LinkedIn. It's interesting that says from the Cheryl Feldman, Director of Product Management at Salesforce,
Yep.
says they're not moving forward with end of life on permissions and profiles.
Because they have a lot of work to do before they can cut that off. But I still think
Yeah.
believe
there-
I mean, I'm going to still move forward
framework.
with it, but I
Yeah.
thought
Yeah.
that was interesting.
Definitely.
I think it's
There's-
a kick it down the road kind of a thing. rather
Is
than
it?
Never.
Oh, never. It's
Yeah.
just not yet now. Yeah.
There's some issues with guest logins on the community side or the experience side that make some questions for them. But Cheryl says, do not stop your planning. Still move off of profiles now. Anyway, even though there's no impending doom, you shouldn't be putting all your entitlements on the profiles anyway.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah, that's it. I just thought that was interesting. So
Oh, we
anyway.
saw
you
it,
for
Laura.
calling that
We
out.
saw it.
Good call though. Thank you for mentioning it.
All right, friends, we are just about at time. So if you don't have anything else to talk to us about, you can chat a little bit, but I gotta go. I got another.
I do too, unfortunately. I think all 3 of us have at 2 o'clock, don't we?
I got to go pick up a kid from school. It's not a
Yeah.
meeting, but I still got to go.
Well, I'd rather do that.
That's an important meeting, Dale. So bye,
Cool.
everybody. Have
Bye,
a
all.
great weekend.
Good to
We'll
see
you in
you.
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
In 2
And wear your
Everyone.
ugly sweaters in 2 weeks. I want to see the ugly holiday sweaters in 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye, all.